Let's talk about conventional attractiveness and how it affects the dynamics in the workplace. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones, and I want to answer a question from a commenter. It says, please, can you make a video on how conventional attractiveness affects women of color in the workplace, friendship, interpersonal relationships, and interactions with strangers, both men, women, and others, as well as how colorism, body type, class, or education affects these interactions? Wow, what a great question. It's a long question with a lot of different layers to it. And I'm gonna do my best to try to, do what I can in 10 minutes. But I think conventional dynamics for both men and women, I think it works a lot of different ways. So one of the things that I've noticed, when you have women um, that think that they look better than you, right? And one of the commenters said on a previous video, there's people that are jealous and in these secret competitions, and you have no idea that they're in these things, right? That they're competing with you. And I think this applies to attractiveness. And when, people, especially when women see that you get something that they want or they once have, there's an immediate comparison to, how much more attractive than you are they. And it could be something completely unrelated to work, but it just took place in the workplace. So I'll give you an example. Many years ago, there was a guy that I used to work with, and a lot of people liked him. They thought he was super attractive, right? Men and women alike. They were like, oh my gosh, this guy is like a goddess or a god, right? And there was a girl that worked at the place before I worked there, and apparently, she thought that they were close. And when I came on board, he essentially like dismissed that friendship and was friends with me. And he was so much of a friend of mine that he asked me to be his groomswoman in his wedding. It's a true story, and I was his groomswoman. And I didn't know that she was harboring this resentment towards me until closer to the end of our friendship, when she was like, oh, this guy, he's so good looking. She's like, I have guys that are interested in me, but none of them compare to the one that you're friends with. And, he and I were friends before you came along. And then when you came along, he dumped me as a friend, and I could not understand it. And that was something that she held on to for more than a year or so, right? And it's like, wow, that's just a really odd thing to bring up. And the comparison got like super ridiculous. I was in his wedding. She was also in his wedding. She's like, I wouldn't have been asked if it hadn't been for you. And the only reason he asked me is because of you, and I wasn't his first consideration. And so a lot of people got upset about that. Both men and women got upset that I was asked to be in his wedding. And so there's like this big brouhaha, and why does Natalie get to be the one, and blah, blah, blah. Whatever, I don't care, right? So that's a dynamic, right? When people, like, when someone who is attractive takes an interest in you, and that interest can be even strictly platonic, but people are mad that they don't get that special attention, or they feel like, oh, I'm more attractive than you. I feel like I'm a better person than you, or I've been working on this relationship longer than you, and you come in and you get to sort of ride off in the glory, and I'm pissed with you. And it becomes this imaginary competition to try to one up you. And then I get even more pissed when I'm not able to find, someone that's equally or more attractive to compete with you with. Like, again, that imaginary competition that I had no idea about, that she's sort of trying to, get a leg up, very, very emotionally immature. But I think it also happens that way when you get recognized, in your job. Again, people will start automatically looking at what makes you so worthy to get this sort of recognition. You're not that great at your job, or you're just average, or you're no more special than the rest of us. Like, why are you getting attention? And so there's that. So if you don't fit into the conventionally attractive person, meaning that your hair is always done, you're always dressed up, or this and that, the other, or if people feel like they look better than you, they automatically feel like they should get a better position. That can even come down to skin color, right? So colorism. So if I'm lighter, right, I feel like I should get it, or I feel like no one ever recognized me. You may feel like no one ever recognizes you because you're darker skin, right? Or if your features are more Eurocentric, and that can even be competitive across cultures. So the woman that was competing with me was that I mentioned earlier, was Southeast Asian. So I mean, again, very brown woman of color, right? But again, there's just sort of that, like, in her mind there is a hierarchy based off of, like, I'm better than a black woman. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand that. Or how come this always happens to you and you're not even trying, right? So there's that enviousness there, or just that feeling of like, I should be put at a better advantage for the simple fact that I'm not as low on the totem pole as you should be. And so there could be a lot of anger, there could be a lot of animosity, and it can also be a safety issue. So back when I was working in corrections, one of the other reasons that I left is because, whenever I work as a clinician, when an inmate violates or gets disrespectful, I always write that up, right? But if you're in a good old boy, an institution that has that good old boy reputation, some of those, sergeants, if I'm not this conventionally attractive, blonde, pretty girl that's flirting on them and wants to have a relationship with them, and I just want to do my job and go home, you know what? They're going to dismiss you, and they're going to dismiss your complaints. And they're going to just be like, oh, well, they're going to take it right out of the system like it doesn't even happen. And so when there's no record of an offense or some sort of disrespect happening, right? If an officer, sergeant can go in and take that out, and he can do it for whatever reason he wants to, right? It doesn't even, and it's definitely a legitimate complaint. It's like it didn't happen, and therefore your life can be at risk. And what I always tell you guys about working with inmates, if they get disrespectful or they violate you and they get away with it, that adds to their ego, becomes much more grandiose, and they feel like they can do things that are bigger and bolder every time. And so it can look like, people not standing up for you, dismissing you when you've suffered an injustice or something inappropriate, even right down to your basic office meeting, right, where it's like a staff meeting and you're raising your hand to contribute, and there's a tone deafness to you when you contribute. You can say something, oh yeah, whatever, they don't care, they don't hear you, they're going to dismiss you. But if Brian, the white guy next to you, says it, they're going to act like it's the first thing they've ever heard since, sliced bread, came out. It's going to be great. He may get a round of applause, and he could literally repeat the very same thing that you do, which is exactly, the same phenomenon that happens, that I've told you guys about with a lot of these male coaches. Male coaches, I feel like, steal content from female creators and basically reiterate, but for some reason male-centered women will hear it and give them a much bigger round of applause than they do for women.